Nice! Like Clockwork by the Queens of the Stone Age. It works. It's a good album. Like Clockwork by Queens of the Stone Age works. It's an incredible album. It still holds up. Of course it holds up. How dare you even flipping ask that question? I know the thumbnail, the title asked that question probably if I did not change it by then. But it asked that question and you clicked on this video. So whether you're a long-time rocker, looking to see what Gen Z, if you will, unless you're, in case you're a long-time rocker, wanting to see what Gen Z thinks about music, or you're a Gen Z rocker yourself, a little TikTok kitten, and you want to know, what is good music? What should I listen to? What should I not listen to? What's a good song to get into? Am I going to like this album or that album? How do I get into a band? Well, I'm going to tell you that right here. So today we're breaking down. This is your reminder to drink water for the day. Have a good glass of water. We're going to be talking here a while. We're going to be doing this video. We're going to be talking. We're going to be doing silly voices. We're a little congested, if you can't tell. We're actually going to do some work on getting decongested here. Oh, no, this is one of the greatest albums of all time. So let's just get into it. I'm currently listening to the record. I have my AirPods in, and I'm listening to Like Clockwork by the Queens of the Stone Age. I said in the last podcast, the last video, that Era Vulgaris is the best Queens of the Stone Age album, my favorite, which is true. And in the video before that, I said Lullabies to Paralyze is also the best Queens of the Stone Age album, and also my favorite Queens of the Stone Age album. Now, you might be starting to think, wait a minute. How does that make sense? And to that point, I go, hey, don't shoot the messenger. No, but both of those are my favorite records by Queens of the Stone Age. But this album proves why Arctic Monkeys and Cage Elephant and the Strokes do not deserve to be let off the hook for going soft in the year 2013, the year of our Lord 2013. This record, Like Clockwork, is more commercial, is more alternative, is more indie, is more accessible than Era Vulgaris by a long shot. More catchy, has more single potential than, probably any of the first 5 records combined prior to this point. But it still fucking rocks, okay? That's the thing. This record fucking rocks. And you don't have to shoot yourself in the fucking foot and start making shitty pop music if you want to have an amazing record and you want to go bigger, you want to get a wider audience, it doesn't mean you have to stop being a good band. That doesn't mean you have to start sucking asshole, ungentrified, chlamydia up, just gross. You're on spring break, you didn't know what you're looking at. You just started eating. You saw the first thing you could do, that kind of shit. If that's what you're talking about, go listen to, later Cage Elephant, Arctic Monkeys, The Strokes, and all that gay shit's fine if you like that. Gay, not in the, the sexual sense, but in the sense that lame, And if you're offended, go help yourself. If you're not offended, go help yourself. I'll leave that up to your imagination. What do you think help means? I'll just tell you, you need more than 2 hands. You need a pole. But this album, it's not good. You might think, why is it so fucking good? Because the Josh homie is doing his shit. It's good. So here's the thing. There's a couple rough tests, couple rough proxies you can use to see if a band has fallen off, if a band's gone soft. One of them is the early material test, early live. So if you go watch a band today play their early material live and it's dog shit and it's embarrassing, then they fell off and they got soft. If they can still go back, and so for some bands, it's fine if you change styles of rock. You go from rock to metal or thrash metal to stoner metal, kind of classic metal like blues rock, like Black Sabbath did on the first couple records, and then Masters of Reality or Master of Reality, as you know, like all like kind of like lower tempo stuff. That's fine because it still rocks and you don't lose the ability to rock. But when a band seemingly loses the ability to rock, like Arctic Monkeys has now, like you see them even sing stuff from like Favorite Worst Nightmare. And it's like, I used to get it in your fishnets. Now you get it in your night dress. And you're just like, just don't play the fucking song then. Don't play the song. Queens of the Stone Age, for instance, have not. They played Regular John, the first song off their first record that came out 26 years ago. That's what they played 2 months ago in Phoenix, Arizona. And it sounded better than the fucking record did 26 years ago. Because in rock music, you've got songs and then you've got execution. That's why someone can execute a song with greater intensity and greater, just impact than the original songwriter. Like, you can think Johnny Cash doing Hurt by Nine Inch Nails, right? Not a perfect example. You can think Smooth Criminal by Alien Ant Farm. No, but there's lots of examples where it's like, that principle kind of holds up, whether it's I think like You Really Got Me. Did the Hives cover that, or was it someone covered that and it was rocked a little bit more than the Kinks? To be fair, that's a fine one. But basically this, if the band keeps up the intensity when they're performing a song they wrote a while ago, and they can still figure out how to play it with intensity so that the song still works, it might be a little bit different, but it's got to work. When you go from rock to pop, doesn't still work. Look at a band like Metallica. Can Metallica still play like thrash metal and the fast and kind of stuff from the early days? Yes, but can they also still play stuff that's not as fast? It's more like groovier and hard rock metal. Yeah, that's the Black Album. That's Enter Sandman. That's Sad But True. That's all that stuff, and they still fucking crush that shit. Likewise, Queens of the Stone Age. Whether you think they've changed genres, they've invented genres in every fucking record. So whatever the hell you call it is Queen's core. Every genre is a different subset of Queen's core, or whatever the fuck you'd call it. But they're Queens of the Stone Age. It doesn't matter what their variations are because they didn't lose the ability to perform their originals with sufficient intensity. And another test, another heuristic. My dog is sleeping in here officially. He's farted. It smells very good. Thank you for asking. Very happy I cleared out my airways so I could smell my dog's farts. Anyways, I Appear Missing is starting, which is a beautiful song, but does not lose intensity. I forget, is it, The Vampire of Time and Memory. That's very much like a Pink Floyd song. Let's go, I Sat by the Ocean, good, kind of poppy. I'll get back to the heuristics on if a band has fallen off or if they're rock or good or not still, right? But quick, I Sat by the Ocean, good pop song. If I had a tale, good, more of a poppy, accessible song. Heal them the fire from a gun. Heal them, my God is the sun. Heal them, guard them. My God is the Sun, really catchy, really accessible. Calypso reminds me of like early Muse off the first album, Sunburn. It's this beautiful combo of like piano and stuff like that, but with just like these loud, crazy loud guitars. Almost like punky, almost like White Stripes, just crazy, unwieldy guitars. And then just a screeching vocal. What is it even a cross? It reminds me of like Pinkerton. It reminds me of like Pinkerton from Blur. I got an alarm going off. But those screeching guitars that come in on Calypso are very much like, Pinkerton by Blur, the White Stripes early stuff, Muse when they do that. It's just really that So good. It feels like home. And when you juxtapose that with really good stuff, it makes a song like Calypso work, where you're still like, that's not something that fits on the other albums that you did before this. So technically it's, a new sound, so to speak, but it still fits perfectly with kind of how everything's going. This record oddly kind of feels more like rated R. I kind of made this point earlier that, like, in an earlier video, an early podcast, if you take the first Queen's album and the second album and you discard those to the side, you've got then 6 albums, right? I really see it as 3 and 3. There's 8 albums total, but if you take off the first 2, there's 3 and 3, and you split it there, right? You go Songs for the Deaf, you go Lullabies to Paralyze, and Era Vulgaris, and then you take the next 3, the last 3, like Clockwork, Villains, and In Times New Roman. And it's actually funny, I think the writing style and aesthetic kind of splits there when it comes to Queen's albums. And if you take Rated R and you put it with the later stuff, it fits. And if you take the original album and you put it with that other stuff that's in the middle, it really fits there. So ironically, if you took the whole Queens in order, all 8 albums, and you just moved or if you moved Rated R down to the end of the line and chopped it right in the middle, I think you'd have 2 different main kind of styles of songwriting that you would see Queens of the Stone Age kind of using. And so that's kind of where I go. Even if you say, like, this isn't like as heavy or like aggressive, it still maintains that intensity and the creativity and just still rocks, right? In the same way that Rated R rocks, despite it's not being as like heavy or moody or dissonant and off-putting as Era Vulgaris or Lullabies to Paralyze. But even right now, I'm listening to the Vampire of Time and Memory. It's just like, it's just so just like, is anyone out there? Not like helpless, but just like, it's so expressive and emotive. It has that intensity. You can either get intensity by being loud and aggressive, but also by being vulnerable and just on the verge of tears and just whimpering. And so Radiohead achieves, much more of a whiny, nasally, whimpery type of thing. Henceforth, why growing up, my parents did not like Radiohead, and we're like, we don't listen. We are Radiohead disrespecters in this house, exclusively Radiohead disrespecting household. And the same with Pearl Jam. They're like, all that stuff is like whiny and nasally. They're like stuff that's like, fuck yeah, like triumphant. And so we're kind of feisty. And so Queens kind of keeps it, a little less feisty on this record and a little more whimpery, but it doesn't really matter. It's still good. If I Had a Tail, it's playing right now. It's so good. Eye of Pure Missing, though, that's an iconic, like, that's one of the Rock Hall of Fame songs. No, but I'm going to be using, I'm going to be making a playlist of all these different songs, all these different things. You might be thinking, Connor, you don't have much to say about like Clockwork. It's good. Oh, back to the heuristics. Here's what I wanted to finish up. The heuristics are, can I work out to the song and it gets me to a place where I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Even I Pure Missing does. And can the band play the early material live now with the same intensity or an equal or relatively similar intensity, as in it's enough intensity they're bringing when they perform it to their execution. If their execution has enough intensity, 2 questions. Can you listen to it in the gym and does it work as gym music? Does it hype you up for the gym? Does it work as gym music? One. Does it work as gym music? Okay, let's do this as a TikTok. Like imagine if we're just like, imagine I'm doing a TikTok right now and I'm like doing a TikTok to the camera. I'm like, did this band fall off? 2 things you can try to figure out if the band fell off. Oh my God. 1, can you work out to the music? Does it get you in the zone, ready to pump up? You ready to work out? Wow. They didn't fall off. They're good. And then 2, if you really like the band, and they play their old material, can they execute it with enough intensity and gravitas that it still gets pulled off and is not cringy? if the band's cringeworthy when they go to play it and you can't work out to any of the songs, they don't get you that 10 out of 10, like I'm just in my emotions, whether that's sadness, whether it's heartbreak, whether it's I want to fucking kill someone, rip out their goddamn throat, just let them choke on it. Just watch them choking. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong because it was all in Minecraft. It was in Minecraft. You didn't kill anyone. You didn't kill anyone. You just watched them bleed out in fucking Minecraft and you tore their intestines out. You started eating, you nibble, and you suck up the blood, and then that's how you get life. That's how you get fertility. That's how you get youth, and that's what the African tribes would do, and that's what the indigenous people would do. That's why people would say Columbus was a good man for doing it. But here's the thing: Columbus was drinking the blood of the babies too, the blood of his enemies. How do you know that? Well, I made it up, so it must be true. And this is where you get to, because I'm listening to IP or Missing. It's bringing me to 10. It's bringing me up. Got me ready to go. It feels like something that's, made to be misunderstood in the sense that Queens of the Stone Age feels like a band that, despite their commercial success, that's just due to their sheer undeniability and the sheer lack of competition in the market. Not that they're not incredible, but they're much more of a musician's band. They're more insular. But there's been, and this is actually the bright side of the fact that, the positive benefit of the fact that there's been like next to no popular rock bands for the last 10 years that didn't start, in the early 2000s or 90s. The bright side of that is a band like Queens of the Stone Age got way more oxygen than they otherwise would have. And so I feel like Queens of the Stone Age was a band that forever would be misunderstood and underappreciated. But now they're getting appreciated. And it's kind of, a roundabout way. It's kind of unfortunate, the reason why, but they're getting that appreciation. They're getting that level of reverence and that openness for people to try and to get acquired to the taste, because there's nothing else out there. They might as well keep eating, the fruit. It's whatever. It's the only rock there is. So you might as well keep listening to it. And so I think that gets normies to a greater level of, proficiency. Normies being layperson who do not listen to rock much. It gets people really an opportunity to appreciate this band in a way that I don't think they ever would have if there was other rock bands going right now, because there'd be so much other stuff. And since it's not as accessible, people would just skip over it. But now they're just sitting there with this. There's like the only thing in the room beside like Royal Blood and, the Black Keys and Muse and Franz Ferdinand. But, Franz Ferdinand haven't put a record out since, actually, no, they did like a Hits to the Head. Never mind. And they released Bye Bye, Really Goodbye, and Don't Get Better, Don't Get Better. Franz Ferdinand's released a little bit of new stuff, but they haven't done like a whole new album since Always and Always and Always Ascending in 2018. That record's great too. Franz Ferdinand, another band, Black Keys, The Hives. What's the other one? Oh my God. Muse. All of these bands are excellent examples of people who did not fall off, who still make rock. And I think that Queens of the Stone Age is a band that in another universe would be, destined to be misunderstood. But ironically, what's funny is with this album, the more I listen to it and I'm just skipping around, like it's so small in the sense that all the songs are pretty straight to the point. They're pretty distinct. You kind of get what's going on. This really is an example of like, you spend 6 years between records. You're not scraping the bottom of the barrel. You have plenty of ideas, and you're just picking the things that you think are the most focused and the most cool, and people just need to fucking see this shit. That's what you really get with this record. It's by that account, it's really nice. I think the not tenser, but the more there's a word I'm looking for. The more sensitive, tender, the more tender moments that are on this record, like at the beginning of Fairweather Friends and some of these other places, I think they kind of lead to what you see with Villains, which is just a certain amount of, fortress in these songs. I don't know, it's really weird. This is a band that's like, Queens of the Stone Age will never die and never not be good. Mark my words. Because they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for themselves. And so I think for that reason, it's always going to be good. And every time, and here's the thing is, every time they've done things for themselves, they turn out great, you know? And it's not the most commercially successful, but now it's become the most commercially successful because there's like no other fucking rock bands. You know, so that's like the bright side of it. You know, it feels kind of like Sam Hyde, you know, the guy on the internet, the comedian. He had a sketch show, and you're just like ahead of your time or just out of place. Like you don't fit in. You're not in the right thing. You're not going with the bigger, better deal. You're not going along with what's you know, frictionless. You're not just sliding into place and shooting to the top. You know, you're kind of going against the grain, but not in a way. You're going against every grain. And that's the thing, is you can go against the grain, but you can't go against every grain, right? And still, you know, receive a level of success or anything. Like right now, the definition, there's a book by David Priestley, British guy, called Key Persons of Influence. And there's an example, I'm going to keep going, but key persons of influence, key person of influence. And basically, it's by David Priestley. And it's this idea of a KPI, key people of influence. They turn their scale. Let's just see. He's got it actually at keypersonofinfluence.com. So it's talking about, you know, the perfect pitch, compelling answer to the question of why do you do? If you can't pitch your value with clarity and credibility, it's game over. 2, publish content. Key people of influence create blogs, articles, reports, and books for getting their message out into the world. 3, product ecosystems. Key people of influence turn their skills, talents, and ideas into products that people love to buy. Rather than purely trading time for money, key people of influence surround themselves with a product ecosystem that makes money anytime, anywhere. 4, raise your profile. Being good at what you do is no longer enough. If you want to be a key person of influence, you must stand out and be recognized. You are who Google says you are. 5, partner with performers. Nothing great was ever achieved in isolation. Key. People of influence create opportunities with other high performers so that everyone can achieve more. So pitch, publish, product, profile, partnership. But honestly, that's what I'm doing here. I have had these conversations and talked about all these albums, and you know, I constantly think about these thoughts and talk about these thoughts, but I realize unless I put out a fucking flag and I go into the marketplace and I go on the places where people actually see me and I actually do some of this stuff and raise my profile and have a good pitch for why rock music should come back and why it's not fucking here and what you got to do about it, and, you know, different ways to get people. Like I have this idea, it's not even a fucking idea, it's the truth. It's one-man band. I basically, you know, put together a thing explaining and a bunch of resources. It's a spreadsheet. There's a link to it in my bio if you go to my bio on a social media platform or something. But basically the idea being, you're one person. How do I make rock music? It's pretty damn simple. You download a free digital audio workspace, a free DAW as they're referred to, DAW. A DAW is a digital audio workspace, and that is where you make music, you mix records, you record the individual parts, and you put them together and adjust the levels and make sure they sound good together. Now you can download a free DAW. I've linked that. And I believe there's another one called Reaper, which is pretty good and has a lot of accessibility. It has a 90-day free trial or a 60-day free trial, but after you download it, you can just keep using it. So it's essentially free. And then there's free drum samples and there's free drum grooves. What does that mean? There's samples. People got microphones in each individual part of the drums and know what they sound like getting hit. So you can just literally get the beat of the drums, right? The groove. You could take the notes, like hit this drum head at this part of the, you know, the drum part, right? And it will use the sample and it'll put that audio there and it'll play that audio there. And so you can download drum samples for free of high-end, high-quality drums, right? And you can also download tons of basic groove kits, Get Good Drums. The guys from Periphery or whatever have incredible, you know, drum samples themselves, but those cost money. And they have incredible drum grooves themselves that mostly cost money, but they've got a free pack of drum grooves. What you can do is you can go in your DAW, you can download all these things. So the drums is the only thing I say that's hard. It's because I don't know how to fucking do drums. And a guitar just means you need one instrument, and a microphone just means you need one thing to yell into. So that's pretty simple. You buy a microphone off Amazon. Hello. If you spend like $100 and get like a Shure 58 or 57 or whatever it is, whatever standard microphone, that's good enough. It's good enough for rock and roll. You're not trying to go high fidelity. You don't need high fidelity. That's the thing with rock is you just get a fucking decent microphone. You could scream into your fucking speaker and, that'll be good. And so basically what you want a basic mic that's good. You want to get a Harley Benton guitar. It's a German company. And they basically make these incredible guitars that are like all the other guitars. They have, their version of each style of guitar, but they only cost like at max $300, and they're ready to go on record on records. They sound incredible. Then you download a Big Muff. A Big Muff is a pedal, right? It's a pedal that does fuzz and distortion. Think of the sound that you hear on all of the White Stripes songs when you hear that crazy guitar, like, holy fuck, what is that? Or you listen to the early first Royal Blood albums, you go, what the fuck is that crazy loud sound? Or the Black Keys, it's a fuzz. It's a fuzz through a guitar, and then you can download a free amp. There's a clone or, a version of an Orange amp. Orange makes an amplifier. An amplifier is the thing that produces the tone. You have your guitar. So all you have to do is plug your guitar into either an audio interface, which is a little box that you can plug your guitar cable into, and then has a cable that you can plug into your computer's USB port. So you can either get an audio interface or you get a cable that plugs directly into your fucking USB because you don't give a shit. You're making like rock, You use your fake Big Muff for when you want things to get nasty and gross. You use a built-in plugin to put the bass or to put, your guitar, and you play your bass part and you just click a button on there to make it go down an octave. And then you put that, instead of on the guitar track, you put it on the bass track. And if you want to, you do double tracking, which is where you play the guitar part twice, or at a certain part of the song, you add in another guitar that's playing the same thing or something slightly different. And if you put one guitar in the right ear and one in the left ear, it'll sound really cool and big when the guitar comes in. Because you'll be listening to the song and it's like, okay, this guitar's coming here. I hear it on the left, right? And I hear the drums, all around down the middle. The vocals are probably down the middle in the verse or whatever. And then chorus comes in. There's only 3 parts to a song. There's a verse, a chorus, and a bridge. Chorus is the big sing-along where everything's in. A verse is something catchy that has less guitars, less noise from the guitars, less volume on the guitars, less backup vocals and adding layers and just kind of quiet and, more streamlined and, less notes, less beats typically. And then the bridge is, you go verse, chorus, verse, and then if the first verse, since it's less, right, and let's say your chorus has 2 guitars and 1 bass, right, beside drums and vocals, right, the chorus has 2 guitars and 1 bass down here. The first verse that came before that could just be 1 guitar, and you go, oh, okay, and the second verse could be just the bass, the 1 bass, so that both times when you go into the chorus, you're like, whoa, I went from 1 to 3 or 1 to 3. You're like, wow, it's so much louder. And that gives variety and that gives motion to a song. So it feels like, whoa, we ramped up. Okay, we're back here. Cool, but different this time. It's not the same thing. And you ramp back up and then you come down. And it's like, this shit is not rocket science, right? And then when you get to a bridge, so you do verse, chorus, bridge. You pick something that could have been a verse or could have been a chorus, but you tone it down at first. You go, big-a-boom, 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 big-a-boom. And then you start to if you've got one thing doing that, right? Big-a-boom, the bass, big-a-boom, 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 big-a-boom. And you can add vocals in that start slow and soft and quiet. And then, this is what Limp Bizkit was the expert at. Then you slowly have the guitars start to come in, just playing little things here and there, start making some noise. Yeah, you get ready, and after, repeating the big bump or the main thing that the bass is playing, like 4 times, you do a pause, so you would just delete everything that's in the drums for that one spot when you're copy pasting the drum part. By the way, when you do the grooves, you're going to have sets of drum parts, and you can just copy paste the drum parts as many times as you need for that section. So if it's a verse, and you might copy paste the drum part 8 times on the first verse. The chorus, you'd probably copy paste it maybe 4 times. The next verse, you copy paste the same one from the first verse, but just 4 times. And if you want to, you can always add little variations here and there. Usually you want to keep the chorus pretty similar. The only thing you want to change with the chorus is when you get to the end of the song, you might want to do a bridge, right? Like we're talking about, where you go ticka-doon, 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 and for 4 bars of the drums, right? And the bass, and then things are kind of happening. The vocals start quiet and sparse. They start to get faster and louder and more aggressive and more intense. And then eventually there's a big pause, and you can like scream something with the vocals, and then you can go back with the thing, but now with everything in, and you actually throw a third guitar down the middle that's doing a solo like and you can just do something fucking crazy because you've got the fuzz going, so you've got these gnarly sounds with minimal notes, all of these extra. See, that's what's happening when you have like a fuzz or distortion, is you're playing one note, and all of these different, when you play a note, it plays that frequency, but then really quietly, it plays 2 times that note. And then it plays an even higher, 3 times that note, even higher, and it keeps doing that over and over. But they're really, really quiet. So you mainly just hear the one note. The other little baby notes are playing at the same time. And when you pop on a distortion, it makes those baby notes huge as well and makes everything blow up. So you get a whole sound, like a whole orchestra, every time you hit one note. And so imagine if you hit a power chord, which is one note and the same note an octave higher, now you're getting all these different unique smatterings in between, right? And so that's where you really get like this big sound easy. And so you do this guitar solo, once again, you do 4 bars, and then you go straight into that chorus again, except now you've got the 2 guitars on the side, the bass in the middle, the drums, your vocals, your backup vocals that you put on, and all the other choruses, except now you've got this big lead guitar that came out of the solo that's adding in little things here and there. And then you can either end by just ending, or you could play a little bit of the bridge as an outro. So you could just play the do-do-do-do, peace up, do-do-do-do, just as a little tag, and just where you would drop maybe the guitars and backup vocals out, and maybe just go down to what you had at the beginning of the bridge, where it was just the bass, the drums, and your voice go, yeah, and that's what's up. And you just end with a big hit, and then have everything come over with a big hit. The backup vocals go, ah, boom, and like everything could just, you just add stuff there. And you can do the same. You can add an intro to your song if you want. Either play, a big version of the chorus a little bit, or you play a little bit of a version of that bridge, like we're saying you could do for the outro. But if you just do that, you can write songs just using 2 notes. You go da 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 da. You don't even have to know how to play guitar. You literally just know how to get a guitar, put strings on so they're in tune. So you actually have notes you can play. Then you just you get your Harley Benton, you get that, you get your strap, and you use AI to make the album artwork, and or you pay $2 to hire someone, or you go and you use AI and you use Photopea, which is a ripoff of Photoshop, which is free. Like all this stuff is free except buying a guitar. But even then, there's infinite videos on how to write lyrics and stuff, and so that will be gone over. But basically, like, I don't even know how I got onto this. Oh no, so I'm doing this key person interest thing. I'm doing this thing. That's what my message is. I want to raise my profile and get there to be rockers out there, because that's the real thing. Is I'm putting out my flag saying rockers unite, rockers come here. I built a website called New Rock Dynasty where you can just talk with other rock fans, kind of like a social network. But bands can make band accounts where they post all of their shows so people can see their shows. And yeah, so this is kind of what I'm doing. That's kind of the so the products would be the one-man band stuff. That's the free product, right? Just giving you a little insight. And then if you want to make a band account on my website, New Rock Dynasty, that's a paid product, but it's worth paying for because you actually get stuff. And if you don't think it's worth paying for, then don't pay for it. That's fine. All good. But it basically gives you a fan club and a homepage with a bunch of other bands where people are already there talking. And so you don't have to ugly up your Instagram by posting, screenshots of the Notes app and ugly flyers. You could just you could post in your story and be like, hey, go check out the thing. And even if you do want to post the flyer, you could use photo from a show, right? And the second slide is the flyer or a screenshot of the New Rock Dynasty post you made. Anyways, but yeah, if you have any thoughts, you want to talk about music, you know more about recording than I know, and want to help make it accessible and help get people writing rock songs, just hit me up, DM me, comment on this, whatever. And yeah, I love you guys. Next one, we're going to be talking about Villains. I'm super excited because Villains is low-key an incredible record that's super slept on because the mixing is kind of wonky. When I say wonky, I just mean it's like they went for something different, unique on this one. And a lot of people probably, are like, yeah, it kind of like ruins some of the songs for them. If it doesn't ruin the songs for you, it's really good. It's kind of like the band kind of being a more mature era, which is good for them. Though I prefer the middle era, like Lullabies and Era Vulgaris. Um, they're still an incredible band. Like they didn't get, like some people when they get old, they get like fat and ugly and they stop showering. They get gross. And some people turn into George Clooney and they have, they look very suave. And Queens of the Stone Age did that. They got very suave, very good. Not the same thing, maybe not as upbeat, not as energetic, not as fun. But still good as hell. Brother. Woo! Listen to Like Clockwork on the end of this album. Pretty damn good. Anyways, come join me on Villains with New Rock Dynasty, okay? The Rock Show with Conor Farrell, brought to you by New Rock Dynasty. Anyways, yeah, come click the Villains video. You got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Did you click it? Did you click it? Did you click it? I'll see you there. Okay, rock on.